Good morning, everyone. It is December 12th, 2025. It is Friday, everyone. Welcome. We've made it through the week. So before I begin, if you are liking this content, please feel free to subscribe. Click the like button. Let us know that you're there. That'll help us out. If anything, you can drop us a comment down below. All right, let's jump into it. So let's just do a quick update to where we left off here last time, right? So we had an FOMC meeting. Yeah, so let's jump into that. We are still in this section right over here. So let's jump in. Let's jump close. I want to show you a few things that have happened. In fact, let's see here. So one thing that I was talking about on Wednesday was this idea of this pattern right here. Okay. And the other thing that I was mentioning was that there is, whenever there's news, there's kind of like this equilibrium that happens. And then, then it goes one way, another way, and like so, right? So where it hits an order block above, hits an order block below, and then it basically goes nowhere, right? It comes back to the mean right there. Comes right back to the mean. Wherever it started from, it will go back. So let's take a look and see how that played out. So this line happened before. In fact, I'm going to switch over to a different chart because I really don't like what Binance chart looks like. It's just all choppy, right? So let's go over to this one right over here. Okay. Let me knock down this color so that we could see it a little bit better. Okay, cool. So before the meeting happened, we had this move up. This was before, I think this was the day before the FOMC meeting, right? And if you notice what happened here, this started to drop down over to here. And this is actually right around, I think, 1 o'clock. Okay. So if you were to look at this line here, right? And remember, I said that there was an equilibrium pattern that happens, which basically means it goes nowhere and it finds the middle. So if I were to stretch this over like this, it basically didn't really go anywhere. It just kept on bouncing around and stayed in this part. What it did was, instead of creating an equilibrium pattern where it was bouncing from the lows to the high, it actually got to the middle, almost the middle of this large candle right here. And it started to settle out. So it was trying to get to a point of, which way is it going to go kind of scenario, right? Where this would have been the equilibrium that it would have made if it went back down over here, but it still kind of like worked its way into, a pattern of neutrality, I should say, like right around here, okay? As soon as the FOMC meeting happened, volatility started to kick up. And if you notice, it went to the top order block right over here, right? It went to the top. This is an order block up here, right? Because, yep, let's just draw that, right? This is an order block right there. That little cluster right over there. It went to the top order block first. And it looked like it was going to rip right up, right? So it ripped up and it went like this, okay? Now, mind you, this is where it started from, right over here, okay? So it went up. And then after, around 3 o'clock or so, after the meeting was all done, it came back down here. And then it went the complete opposite way. And if you notice, this is an order block right over here. See that? It's this cluster. Now, ignore this part. This is actually the order block right over here. Actually, it's a little bit higher right over here. So let me color this out. This is the order block right there, okay? This is the order block right here. And it came down, let me just draw that line like so, right? It came down into it. And it did just that. Now, here's the thing. No matter what your feeling is, this was a news pattern, right? And I said it would move like this, right? So it spent some time in this order block and it looked like it was going to move down, but notice where it came back to. This is the mean right here. Now, I've mentioned this before. The difference between this pattern and this pattern is time. Okay? But either way, regardless of what, it still did the same exact thing. It goes up, and it goes down. This right here is a change of direction, right? So regardless if it spent some time over here, if I look out on a higher time frame, this pattern still came out. It still came to the mean, right? So now it has to choose a direction. And I hope you could see that. So if I go over to a higher time frame, here is that middle right over here, right? And you can see, let me go to you could see like we've got a wick over here. This was that wick that went up, right? And almost the same distance down. It's almost the same. Actually, let's measure that so we could see, right? So from here, from this line to over here, that's almost a 3% move, right? And then from this line to the middle, yeah, that's almost a 3% move. So yeah, so did that end up working out in the, I'm clicking buttons. Did that end up working out like this? Yes, it did. It absolutely did. Now, my plan is to wait. And I mentioned, let me go back over to this Binance chart here because this is what we were using before. On the larger time frame, the Binance chart looks okay. So what I said was I would be looking to add on to my long in this section right over here. You can go back to the video and take a look. And that's exactly what I did. But before I did that, I actually decided to play the chart a bit. So this is where I was right over here before the video. I was in a long. And what I decided to do was because we were kind of consolidating on that mean, and I thought it was going to go up first and then come down like so. And you can see it in my other video. Because I thought it was going to go up, what I decided to do was I decided to DCA in right over here, and it moved my entry right here. And I ended up taking some profit up here. So not only was I in a long, I actually added on to my long right over here. Okay, to kind of catch that whip up. And I took profit right here, pretty aggressive profit, right? And I left only a little bit in there. And then as we moved down, just like I said in the video, I was looking to add on. I actually added on very heavy here. And again, it moved back up to the mean right over here. And I took profit right over here. So I will show you my cards so you can see what I mean. Let me see here. Do I have it here? Yeah. So first, I got a 30% profit on that move up. And I took quite a bit of profit. You can see that, you can see my entry was 91,419, right? And then after I took profit, I entered in very heavy, which moved my entry down to 95.90. And I took profit again. So these, when I actually added to my long, right over here, this actually reset my profit to 0%. So I got 30% profit on that. And when I added on to my long over here, like I had a little bit left in there, again, it reset my entry back down to 0, and I took 20% there. So that's how I played this section, and it worked out. I'm pretty happy with it. Right now, I am still in a long. And the same thing happened with Ethereum. So over in Ethereum, what I did was I didn't play both charts, but I was in a long before. I was in a long right over here. And what I said is that if it came down into this section right over here, this line being my trigger, I would add on to my long. And I did. I added on to my long. As soon as we hit this white line here, I added on to my long, moving my position right over here. And I have since taken profit on that. And I could show you that as well. Here it is right here. This is my profit. And I am still in a long. I added on kind of heavy. So that's where I am right now. Okay, so now let's talk about, so that was what happened, and that's how I played it, just like I said I would. So now let's take a look at exactly what's what. Okay, wait, before we do that, what I want to say is this, okay? So what's up with this news play? How do I look at this chart in a news play? Well, let's just pretend for a minute that the chart is moving up, okay, like so. And then we get a news play that's going to happen, and it comes over here, and it makes like this equilibrium pattern of some sort, right? Whatever. And then it spikes up, spikes down, comes back over here, and then it gets into the middle again, right? Like so, right? So then what I think is it chooses a direction at that point, okay? Now, what I do is I ignore, believe it or not, I ignore this whole pattern here. It's as if like I take this and I extract it out. Because if there was no news, the chart would continue going in whatever direction it's supposed to go in, right? But because there was news, we had to take a little bit of an intermission so it can wipe some people out, and then it continues on its route. So I actually, during this section, I basically kind of X this out and see where it was supposed to go at that point, right? So we can continue on from there. So I'm not going to pay attention to that in here. So meaning like, see, we've got a hit right up here, and then we've got another hit over here, and this was a news-driven play right over here, okay? So even though we've got a third hit up over here, we're still kind of stuck in this area right here. And we seem to be making our way up right? So if I were to ignore that and not call this a triple top, right? So let's say 1, 2, 3. A triple top basically means we've got this, and we might be forming a BART pattern that comes down here. Now, that could be happening. I don't know. But because it was a news-driven play in this cluster right over here, I am basically going to ignore this for a while and see what the chart is going to do. So if I were to ignore that, what I'm thinking is that we come over here and we test this line right over here, and we take this guy out. We're just way too close not to. Okay, it's like gravity or like law of attraction. We are so close to here that if it wanted to go down, it could totally rip up, knock all these people out, change everyone to bullish, and then basically cause some problems by going down, right? So I still feel that we are moving up. And I do think that, like I mentioned the other day, I believe this is the target that we're going for, okay? So first we need to take this liquidity out in this section here. And this is the cluster that I'm looking at. You see this? You see how it's a cluster right here? This is the cluster using this candle, the top candle, as its reference. It has to come above this candle right here to take out that liquidity. So if we can pop up like so, maybe come back down, just kind of like work our way up. That's what I'm hoping for today. Okay, so I'm in a long right now and I'm looking to take more profit. So I will take profit in this zone right over here. If we do get lower, unfortunately, if we break this line here and we go lower, I will close out my short and my long, and I will look to long in this section like before, and also this section right over here. So those still are in play. So all I'm really, like, my plans for the downside doesn't change. Okay, we've had this on here for quite some time. So this is not what I'm really concentrating on right now. What I'm concentrating on is the plan for if we go up and up here. So these two areas are where I'm going to look for a possible short. Okay, depending on what's happening. Actually, this is the area that I'm looking for a short. This is truly, truly, truly the area of a short. But if we do end up coming up here and rip through, I will wait, right? So I'm in my long, and that's how I'm going to play it. Now, let's go over to Ethereum real quick, because Ethereum, I feel like, is telling quite a story, right? And this story is one, we've taken out this section right over here. Okay, and we are like riding the top. Notice this is actually gone. So let me drop a little X here. That's gone. It's no longer relevant. It's completely gone. So let me take this. I'm gonna move it over here. I'll move it over here. So we don't really need to kind of like stay at the top here. So at this point, we can drop a little bit lower if we want to, but I feel the pressure is up, and you can totally see it on this chart. It's a lot more apparent in this chart than it is on Bitcoin. It's because of Bitcoin dominance and Ethereum dominance. If you notice, Ethereum dominance is ripping up and Bitcoin dominance is kind of muted. So this is feeling like Ethereum is kind of like showing us where we're going, right? So this needs to be taken out. So if we do break up, notice there's a lot of room in this section here. There's no wick that's really covering it. This really is kind of a fair value gap over here, right? Oh, we've got some candles that are filling here, but I do feel like these candles need to be taken out right here. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for Ethereum to really kind of like break this line completely, right? If it breaks up, then this is, I believe, yeah, then it can come over here and kind of work its way back up, right? So here is kind of a target that we might have a reaction on. Yeah. Now, I will say this. These charts are looking kind of gross, right? I mean, there's a lot of manipulation that's being done here. I mean, look at this. This doesn't really feel too organic. It looks like people are playing this chart. And what I mean by that is on the lower time frame, you could see we had like this huge drop. Oh, we're going to zero. No, we're going to consolidate. No, we're going to zero, completely recover this whole section, come back down over here. I mean, like it's just happening way too much, right? Where like there are these huge moves, come over here, take this guy out, bring it right back down, you know, like it's just way too much. And it doesn't really feel like it's an organic step up. So we are not organically stepping up. We are doing this. This is the way the chart feels right now, right? And it's because there are moments of no liquidity, you know, I don't know. And because there's no liquidity or lack of liquidity, you know, they're able to move these charts pretty hardcore, right? So what I mean is, look at this. Look at this. This feels organic, right? Like a progressive move up in this channel. And then once we leave this, then it's like block, 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 block. And, you know, here we are. So this is feeling kind of weird. But I think that this is kind of the moment that we're at where, you know, this is a shift. People are still unsure where this chart's going to go, right? Like, are we really changing character? And this is the area that will change everybody's mind from being kind of like, you know, bearish to bullish, right? To bullish at this point. So at this point, you know, we still got a, what is that? That's a higher low, higher low, higher low. And this is still a higher low. Once we get above here, we then change our structure on the higher time frame to a higher high. So that's what I think is happening, why this chart looks the way that it does. Let's go take a look at the S&P 500. Here it is. And yeah, if you look at, you know, Wednesday's video, I was saying, I was hoping that the chart would move up to the top of this area here, which could give Bitcoin and, you know, crypto an opportunity to move up. But because it moved up like this, it didn't really, like, it didn't feel like crypto really kind of took that opportunity, right? So we are at, you know, the S&P 500's all-time high. If this does break this all-time high and starts to come a little bit above here, right, then I think crypto is lagging behind. I think it'll play catch-up. Okay, if it starts to come down here, then I think we've got a problem. I think we're going to start to see the chart go lower. So we'll see what happens. Remember, we are going into the weekend. It is Friday, so please be very, very careful. Remember, the volume kicks out on Saturday, and then there's a lot of play that's happening on the weekend. So don't come into a straight bias. If it comes lower, look to long. If it goes higher, look to short. I don't know what I'm drawing there. I don't know what just happened. Yeah. If it goes lower, look to long. If it goes higher, look to short. But if we get up here and then we're rolling into Saturday, I would definitely pay attention, you know, because we might lose volume and come down here and then start to work our way up. So anyway, so those are my plans. I hope that's clear what's going on. I'm still looking at this section over here, this section over here. I am in a long. I'm looking to take some profit over here. I am looking for this to break this line here, and we'll see what happens, right? I will be making some videos this weekend, especially talking about how Bitcoin and Ethereum dominance really plays a role in these charts. Also, what I'd like to do is I'd like to make a video on the S&P 500 going back into the you know, before the 1950s to talk about how that chart moves and kind of where we are and what we could be expecting in the near future. All right, guys, talk to you soon. Have a good one.